Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Quotes 365. Have you ever felt like someone was testing you in a relationship? Maybe they deliberately ignore your messages, make vague comments, or challenge you with subtle mind games. It's frustrating, isn't it? These games don't just waste your time. They make you feel undervalued and disrespected. But don't worry. Today, we're diving into how you can handle these situations with strength and grace, the Stoic way. Picture this. You're texting someone, and suddenly they ghost you for hours, only to resurface later with a half-baked excuse, as if they're gauging your reaction. Sound familiar? When you respond immediately, whether with frustration, worry, or eagerness, you're playing right into their hands. That's exactly what they want. Control over your emotions. But here's the truth. You don't have to give them that power. In this video, we're exploring 7 powerful strategies to shut down these games and reclaim your peace of mind. These aren't just tactics. They're a way to strengthen your sense of self-worth and show the world that you won't be manipulated. Whether it's in romantic relationships, friendships, or professional connections, these techniques will help you navigate the challenges with confidence. Let me tell you something important. When someone plays games with you, it's rarely about you, it's about them. People often resort to manipulative behavior because of their own insecurities or need for control. They're testing the waters to see how far they can push you, but you don't have to play along. Instead, you can apply Stoic principles, calmness, self-control, and focus on what you can control to rise above it all. For example, one of the most effective ways to handle mind games is to prove that you're not easily manipulated. If someone tries to dictate the pace of your interactions or control your time, take a step back. Don't rush to respond or react. Instead, create space. This not only diffuses their attempt to control you, but also shows that you value your own boundaries. Games like these aren't just limited to casual encounters. They're often more intense in romantic relationships. Maybe you've experienced someone making you feel unsure of where you stand or intentionally withholding affection to get a reaction. It's emotionally draining, isn't it? But here's the kicker. They don't expect you to stay calm, collected, and in control. Throughout this video, we'll break down how to handle these situations step by step. From mastering the art of silent confidence to flipping the script on manipulative tactics, you'll gain tools to take back your power. These strategies aren't about playing games in return. They're about stepping out of the game entirely and showing that you're in control of your emotions and actions. Imagine the impact when you handle these situations with dignity. Not only will you protect your peace of mind, but you'll also command the respect of those around you. People will see that you're not someone to be toyed with. And the person attempting to manipulate you will quickly realize that their tactics won't work. If you're tired of feeling caught in these psychological games and want to know how to maintain your self-respect in the face of manipulation, this video is for you. Stick around until the end, because each segment builds on the last, giving you a complete toolkit to navigate these challenges with wisdom and strength. All right, folks, let's get started. Number 1. They think you're easy to manipulate. Prove them wrong. Hey, folks, let's talk about a scenario we've all been in at one point or another. When someone assumes they can outsmart, outmaneuver, or outright manipulate us. It's infuriating, isn't it? But instead of getting angry or defensive, imagine handling this situation with the kind of calm and poise that not only disarms them, but also leaves them questioning their tactics. That's what we're diving into today. How to prove to those who think they can manipulate you that they've got the wrong person. When someone plays manipulative games, their core assumption is that you'll be reactive, that you'll either fall for their ploys or lash out in frustration. This is where Stoic psychology offers us a golden rule. Control your emotions. Control the game. Manipulators thrive on chaos, confusion, and impulsive reactions. The moment you refuse to give them what they seek, you've already begun to take back the power. One of the first things to do is recognize the signs of manipulation. These can range from subtle guilt-tripping, passive-aggressive comments, or sudden shifts in behavior designed to confuse you. Let's say you're in a relationship, and your partner consistently makes you feel like you're walking on eggshells. Maybe they withhold affection to get their way, or use flattery only when they need something. Sound familiar? The key here is awareness. By identifying these tactics, you shift from being a pawn in their game to someone who sees the board clearly. Now, proving them wrong doesn't mean engaging in a tit-for-tat. That's a trap. Instead, focus on boundaries. A manipulator's biggest frustration? Boundaries that they can't breach. Let me break this down. The next time someone tries to guilt you into doing something you're uncomfortable with, pause. Take a breath. Then calmly and firmly say, "No, I'm not comfortable with that." Notice what just happened there? You didn't over-explain, apologize, or justify. You simply stated your truth, and that's incredibly powerful. Stoic principles teach us to act, not react. Think about Marcus Aurelius's advice. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Manipulators will often test your limits, seeing how far they can push you. But when you remain calm and unshaken, you send a message louder than any confrontation ever could. I'm not someone you can play games with. Let me share an example from a friend of mine. She was dealing with a coworker who constantly undermined her during meetings. Instead of confronting him angrily, she started documenting every instance of his behavior. When the time was right, she brought it up calmly in a one-on-one conversation, laying out the facts without any emotional charge. The result? Not only did the coworker back off, but he also started treating her with newfound respect. Why? Because she handled the situation with intelligence and composure, proving she wasn't an easy target. This brings us to another tactic, the power of silence. Manipulators often rely on filling every gap with their narrative, convincing you to see things their way. But silence unnerves them. The next time someone tries to corner you with manipulative language, don't feel the need to respond immediately. Pause, look them in the eye, and let the weight of the moment do the work. Trust me, it's far more impactful than trying to argue or defend yourself. Finally, remember this. Proving someone wrong isn't about vengeance or even about them. It's about reclaiming your space, your peace, and your dignity. When you stand firm in your values and refuse to let their tactics define your actions, you're not just showing them they've underestimated you, you're reminding yourself of your inner strength. So, here's the challenge for you, my Stoic friends. Think about a time someone tried to manipulate you. How did you handle it? What did you learn? Drop a quick comment below. Something like, "I choose strength to affirm your resolve." And before we move on to the next sign of manipulation, make sure you've subscribed and hit that notification bell. These strategies only work if you stay informed and ready. All right, folks, let's continue. You're going to love what's coming next. Number 2, they think they control the timeline. Flip the script. Hey folks, let's talk about timelines. One of the sneakiest tools manipulators use to keep control. Whether it's in a romantic relationship, a friendship, or even at work, people who think they can control your timeline often use it as a way to dominate the pace of your decisions, your responses, and ultimately your power. But here's the catch. Timelines are only as powerful as the control you allow them to have. Today, we're flipping that script. Think about this. Have you ever been in a situation where someone rushes you into making a decision? Maybe it's the classic, "we need to decide now," or "it's too late" line. Or maybe someone delays action endlessly, leaving you frustrated and powerless. These tactics are deliberate. The manipulator sets the clock to their advantage, hoping you'll feel pressured to comply. But my Stoic friends, the power of your response lies in your ability to control your own pace. Let's break this down with a scenario. Imagine you're dating someone who keeps you in a state of limbo, texting you when it's convenient for them, leaving you hanging when you need clarity. Or maybe you've faced someone at work who drags out a project timeline, forcing you to wait while they prioritize their own agenda. In moments like these, you feel stuck, don't you? But here's where Stoicism comes in. You control your time, not them. The first step to flipping the script is recognizing the manipulation. Many people weaponize urgency or delays to keep you second-guessing. If someone pressures you to make a snap decision, ask yourself, why the rush? Similarly, if they keep stalling, consider what they gain by keeping you in the dark. Awareness is your first defense. Now, let's talk about how to regain control. One of the most powerful tools you have is your ability to say, "I'll get back to you." This simple phrase buys you time to think, removes the manipulator's leverage, and reminds them that you're not operating on their timeline. For example, if someone says, "We need to talk right now," you can calmly respond, "I'm not ready to discuss this yet. Let's revisit it tomorrow." Or see what you just did? You reset the pace on your terms. Another key tactic is setting your own deadlines. Manipulators hate this because it removes their ability to dictate when things happen. If someone is dragging their feet, give them a clear timeline. "I need an answer by Friday." This forces them to act without allowing them to prolong the game indefinitely. Here's a personal story to illustrate this. A friend of mine, let's call her Maya, was in a relationship where her partner constantly kept her waiting. Waiting for texts, waiting for plans, waiting for commitment. It was exhausting. But one day, Maya decided she'd had enough. Instead of waiting for him to dictate the pace, she started setting her own terms. If he didn't confirm plans, she'd make other ones. If he delayed important conversations, she'd move forward without his input. You know what happened? He started stepping up. Why? Because Maya showed him that her time was valuable, and she wouldn't let anyone waste it. Now, flipping the script isn't about playing games yourself. It's about valuing your own time and showing others that you're not at their mercy. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control. And one thing you absolutely control is how you allocate your energy and time. By taking charge of your timeline, you're not just regaining power, you're sending a clear message. I respect myself enough to move at my own pace. And let's not forget the importance of staying calm. Manipulators often thrive on chaos, hoping that their control over the timeline will make you anxious or reactive. Instead, practice patience. If they're trying to rush you, take a step back. If they're stalling, move forward without them. Your ability to remain steady and grounded will throw them off every single time. All right, my Stoic friends, here's your challenge. The next time someone tries to control your timeline, pause and take a breath. Remember, you're the one in charge of your decisions. Leave a comment below with the words, "I own my time," if you're ready to flip the script on anyone trying to control your pace. Before we move on to the next sign of manipulation, make sure you've subscribed and turned on that notification bell. You don't want to miss what's coming next. All right, folks, let's keep this momentum going. Number 3, they think their games are subtle. Call them out. Hey folks, let's talk about subtle games, those sneaky, underhanded tactics some people use to maintain control or manipulate situations. without getting called out. You've probably encountered this at least once. Maybe it was the harmless sarcasm that stung just a little too much, or the way someone conveniently forgot something important to you, brushing it off as no big deal. These aren't accidents. They're calculated moves. And guess what? You don't have to put up with them. Manipulators often bank on subtlety to get away with their behavior. They think their actions are too minor for you to notice, or that if you do, you'll feel too petty to address them. But let me tell you something important. Small actions speak volumes about someone's intentions. If you let the small stuff slide, they'll keep escalating, testing your boundaries a little more each time. That's why it's so important to call out these games early. Let me give you an example. Imagine a colleague who keeps making passive-aggressive comments during meetings, little digs about your work or your decisions disguised as jokes. At first, you might brush it off, thinking it's just their sense of humor. But the truth is, their humor is a mask. If you laugh along or ignore it, you're inadvertently signaling that their behavior is acceptable. So, how do you call them out? First, understand that calling someone out doesn't mean being aggressive or confrontational. It's about being assertive and confident. The next time they make a subtle dig, try this. Pause for a moment, look them directly in the eye, and ask calmly, "What did you mean by that?" This simple question forces them to explain their intent, often exposing the manipulative nature of their comment. If they backtrack or try to play it off as a joke, stay composed and say, "I just wanted to make sure I understood you clearly." You've just sent a powerful message. You're not someone who will let things slide. Now, here's where Stoic philosophy comes in. Stoicism teaches us to approach situations with logic and composure, focusing on what we can control, our response. When you call someone out, it's not about shaming them or starting a fight. It's about establishing a clear boundary and showing that you respect yourself enough to address the issue. Stay calm, stay collected, and let your confidence speak for itself. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine, Alex, was dealing with a friend who would constantly interrupt and dismiss her ideas during group conversations. It wasn't outright rude, but it was enough to make her feel overlooked. One day, after yet another interruption, Alex calmly said, "I noticed you've been cutting me off lately. Is there something about my ideas you'd like to discuss further?" The friend was caught off guard, and while it was an awkward moment, it led to a more respectful dynamic going forward. By calling out the behavior in a composed yet direct way, Alex reclaimed her space in the conversation. Now, some of you might be wondering, what if they deny it or get defensive? That's a possibility, and here's how you handle it. Don't engage in an argument. Simply restate your boundary. For example, "I just want to make sure we're on the same page about how we communicate." Then, move on. Remember, calling someone out isn't about winning an argument. It's about asserting your worth and letting them know their games won't work on you. It's also important to recognize patterns. If someone repeatedly engages in subtle manipulation despite being called out, that's a sign they're unlikely to change. At that point, it's worth considering how much energy you want to invest in that relationship. As Stoics, we prioritize our peace of mind and our circle of influence. If someone consistently disrupts that, it's okay to distance yourself. All right, Stoic friends, here's your challenge. The next time you notice someone's subtle manipulations, don't let it slide. Practice calling them out with calm and confidence. Start small if you need to. Maybe it's as simple as asking, "Can you clarify what you meant by that?" You'll be amazed at how quickly the dynamic shifts when you stand your ground. Now, let's keep this conversation going. Drop a comment below with the words, "I see through the games," if you're ready to call out subtle manipulation in your life. And hey, Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a chance to level up your relationships with Stoic wisdom. All right, let's keep the momentum going. Number 4, they think they're irreplaceable. Show them they're not. Hey, Stoic friends, let's talk about a common dynamic in relationships and interactions, someone who acts like they're indispensable. Whether it's in romantic relationships, friendships, or even at work. These individuals often rely on the belief that you can't do without them. They think they're so vital to your life that you'll bend over backward to keep them around, no matter how they treat you. But here's the truth. No one is irreplaceable. Let me be clear. Showing someone they're not irreplaceable doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It's about reclaiming your power and reminding them, and yourself, that your happiness and fulfillment don't hinge on one person. Let's break this down. First, why do some people act like they're irreplaceable? Often, it's a form of control. They use phrases like, "You'll never find someone like me," or imply that their presence in your life is a favor. These tactics are meant to make you second-guess your worth and create a dependency. But here's the thing. This behavior says more about their insecurities than it does about your value. Recognizing this is the first step in breaking free from their grip. So, how do you handle someone who acts irreplaceable? Start by shifting your mindset. You are the foundation of your own happiness. If someone is contributing positively to your life, that's great. But they're not the sole source of your joy or success. When you internalize this, their attempts to leverage their importance lose power. A practical step you can take is to focus on building and celebrating your independence. For example, in a romantic relationship, don't let your world revolve around one person. Invest in your hobbies, friendships, and personal growth. When they see that you're thriving with or without them, it subtly communicates, "I choose to have you in my life, but I don't need you to define it." Let's talk about boundaries. If someone acts like they're irreplaceable, they might also push your limits, assuming you won't stand up to them. This is where asserting your boundaries becomes essential. Imagine you're in a friendship where the other person constantly takes advantage of your time, assuming you'll always be there. The next time they make a last-minute demand, try saying, "I can't accommodate that right now." It's a small step, but it shows you're not afraid to prioritize yourself. Now, let's add a layer of Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. In this context, don't let their attempts to make you feel less than affect your self-worth. Stay calm, grounded, and confident. When you respond with composure, it reinforces the idea that you're not tethered to their validation. Here's a real-life scenario. A friend of mine, Sarah, was in a relationship where her partner often said things like, "You'll never find someone who understands you like I do." At first, Sarah brushed it off, but over time, she realized how these statements made her feel trapped. One day, she calmly replied, "I value what we have, but I know my worth doesn't depend on anyone else." This shift in energy was subtle but powerful. It reframed the dynamic, and her partner started treating her with more respect, recognizing that she wasn't clinging to them out of fear. If you're wondering, what if they don't change? That's okay. 2. Not everyone will respect your newfound independence, and some might even double down on their behavior. This is where you have to make a choice. Do you want to keep someone in your life who doesn't value you as an equal? Remember, walking away isn't a loss. It's a gain in self-respect. Now, Stoic friends, here's your takeaway. Showing someone they're not irreplaceable doesn't mean proving a point through words or confrontation. It's about living your truth, being confident in your own value, and prioritizing your peace and happiness. When you do this, you naturally shift the dynamic without even trying. Before we move on, Let me hear from you in the comments. Have you ever dealt with someone who acted like they were irreplaceable? Type, "I value myself" if you're ready to break free from these dynamics and embrace your worth. And hey, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss a Stoic relationship insight. All right, let's keep the momentum going. Number 5. They think you'll settle. Raise your standards. Hey, Stoic friends, let's dive into a topic that's as empowering as it is challenging: raising your standards. If you've ever found yourself in a situation where someone assumes you'll settle for less than you deserve, you know how frustrating it can be. Whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, or even a workplace, there are people who will test your boundaries, hoping you'll compromise on your values, your goals, or your self-worth. But here's the thing. The only way to combat this mindset is by showing them, loud and clear, that settling isn't in your vocabulary. First, let's talk about why people think you'll settle. Often, it stems from their perception that you're too afraid of losing them or the situation to demand more. They assume you value their presence more than your own standards. This could show up as a partner who doesn't prioritize you, a friend who takes your kindness for granted, or a boss who piles on extra work without recognition. But here's the truth. You teach people how to treat you by what you accept. So, how do you raise your standards without creating unnecessary drama or conflict? It starts with clarity. Ask yourself, what do I truly deserve in this situation? Be honest. And don't shy away from aiming high. Setting clear expectations for how you want to be treated is the first step in raising your standards. Whether it's in a relationship, a friendship, or even a job, define what respect, effort, and value look like for you. Now, let's get into the practical steps. For example, let's say you're dating someone who consistently cancels plans at the last minute. Instead of brushing it off, address it directly. You might say, "I value my time, and I'd appreciate it if you could let me know in advance if plans need to change." Notice how this approach is calm, assertive, and rooted in self-respect. You're not attacking them, you're simply stating your standards. Raising your standards also means being willing to walk away from situations that don't align with your values. This is where Stoic philosophy shines. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. By prioritizing your peace and self-worth over the fear of losing someone, you show them and yourself that you're not afraid to stand alone if necessary. Let's take this a step further. In relationships, raising your standards often requires an internal shift. It's about recognizing that your value isn't tied to someone else's validation. When you exude confidence and self-respect, you naturally attract people who align with your energy. It's like sending out a silent message. I'm worth the effort, and I expect nothing less. Here's a personal example. A friend of mine, James, was in a relationship where his partner often dismissed his feelings. Every time he brought up an issue, they'd wave it off or blame him for overreacting. For months, James tolerated it, thinking things would improve if he just tried harder. But eventually, he realized he was settling for far less than he deserved. One day, he calmly told his partner, "I need a relationship where my feelings are valued. If that's not something we can work on together, I think it's best we part ways." It wasn't easy, but James later told me it was the best decision he'd ever made. By raising his standards, he freed himself from a toxic dynamic and eventually found a partner who truly valued him. Now, let's address a common fear. What if raising your standards pushes people away? Here's the hard truth. Stoic friends, the people who leave when you raise your standards were never meant to stay. Those who genuinely care about you will rise to meet your expectations. And those who don't, they're simply making room for better connections. Before we wrap up this section, let me ask you, what's one area of your life where you know you've been settling? Drop a quick "no more settling" in the comments if you're ready to raise your standards and claim the respect you deserve. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more Stoic wisdom. Let's keep moving forward. Number 6. They think you're playing their game. End it. All right, Stoic friends, let's talk about one of the most empowering moves you can make when dealing with someone who thrives on manipulation. Ending the game. When someone tries to pull you into their cycle of mind games, they're betting on one thing: you'll keep playing. Whether it's passive-aggressive comments, ghosting tactics, or constant power plays, these behaviors are designed to keep you engaged, frustrated, and, ultimately, under their control. But what happens when you decide to stop playing altogether? You take back your power. So, how do you recognize when someone is pulling you into their game? It usually starts with patterns. Maybe they give you mixed signals, leaving you guessing about where you stand. One day, they're all in, showering you with attention, and the next, they pull away, leaving you confused. This push-pull dynamic isn't accidental. It's a tactic to keep you hooked. It makes you work harder for their approval while they sit back and call the shots. The key here is awareness. Once you recognize the pattern, you can step out of the game. Ask yourself, what do I gain from engaging in this? The answer is nothing but frustration and self-doubt. Then it's time to disengage. Remember, Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control. You can't change someone's behavior, but you can decide how you respond to it. Ending the game doesn't mean you have to confront them dramatically or explain yourself in detail. In fact, one of the most effective ways to take back control is through quiet detachment. For example, if someone keeps ghosting you, stop chasing them for answers. If they thrive on provoking you, stop reacting emotionally. By refusing to engage, you're sending a clear message. I'm not here to play by your rules. Let's break this down further. Say you're in a situation where someone is constantly testing your boundaries, maybe by canceling plans last minute or keeping you guessing about their feelings. Instead of falling into the trap of over-explaining or demanding answers, take a step back, limit your availability, and focus on yourself. This isn't about being cold or unkind. It's about protecting your peace. Here's a powerful truth. When you stop playing the game, you force the other person to confront their own behavior. Games require two players. When you remove yourself, the game ends. This can be unsettling for someone who's used to manipulating others. They may try harder to reel you back in with grand gestures or guilt trips. Stay firm. Remember, you're not rejecting them. You're rejecting their behavior. Now, let's apply some Stoic wisdom here. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By stepping away from the chaos, you reclaim your mental space. You're no longer a pawn in someone else's game, but the architect of your own peace. Let me share a quick story. A friend of mine, Anna, was in a relationship where her partner constantly played hot and cold. One week, he was attentive and sweet, and the next, he'd go silent for days. Anna found herself overthinking and overcompensating, trying to win his affection back every time he pulled away. One day, she decided enough was enough. Instead of chasing him or questioning his actions, she focused on her own happiness. She started spending more time with friends, pursuing hobbies she loved, and setting boundaries. When her partner tried to reel her back in with sweet texts and apologies, she responded politely but didn't engage deeply. Over time, she felt freer and more confident. The best part? She realized she didn't need his validation to feel whole. Ending the game isn't just about cutting ties. It's about shifting your energy. Instead of investing in someone who drains you, pour that energy into yourself. Rediscover your passions, reconnect with supportive friends, and remind yourself of your worth. The more you focus on your own growth, the less power their games will have over you. Before we wrap up this section, let me ask you, what's one game you've been caught up in that you're ready to end? Share your thoughts in the comments with Game Over to declare your freedom. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more insights like these. All right, let's keep this journey going. Number 7, they think they can win. Prove them wrong. All right, Stoic friends, this is where it gets real. When someone believes they've already won the game, whether it's manipulating you, outsmarting you, or undermining your worth, they're operating from a place of arrogance. They've underestimated your strength, resilience, and intelligence. And that's where you prove them wrong, not through loud arguments or dramatic gestures, but through quiet, undeniable action. Let's break this down. What does proving them wrong really mean? It's not about revenge or one-upping them. Instead, it's about rising above their expectations and showing that you're not defined by their perception of you. They think they've got the upper hand? You show them that your power lies in your ability to stay grounded, focused, and undeterred. For example, imagine someone at work constantly trying to outshine you, believing they've left you in their shadow. Instead of getting caught up in the race, you channel your energy into delivering exceptional results, staying professional, and building a reputation for integrity. Over time, their antics will pale in comparison to your steady progress. In relationships, this principle is just as powerful. If someone plays games to keep you feeling small or unsure, proving them wrong means stepping into your confidence. It means recognizing that your value isn't tied to their validation. You stop seeking their approval and start living your life fully, with or without them. Here's the thing. Proving them wrong doesn't require confrontation. Sometimes, the best response is no response at all. Imagine you're dealing with someone who thrives on provoking you. They believe they've won if they can make you react. But when you remain calm and unbothered, you rob them of that satisfaction. Your silence and self-control are louder than any argument you could have. Now, let's add a layer of Stoic wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In the context of dealing with manipulative individuals, this means shifting the focus from their behavior to your own actions. Don't waste energy trying to prove them wrong through words. Instead, let your actions and character speak volumes. Let me share a story. A friend of mine, James, had a colleague who constantly undermined him in meetings, taking credit for his ideas and dismissing his input. At first, James felt frustrated and defeated, but instead of confronting the colleague directly, he decided to prove his worth in a way that couldn't be ignored. He started documenting his contributions and sharing progress directly with his manager. Over time, his consistent efforts gained recognition, and the colleague's attempts to discredit him fell flat. James didn't have to say a word. His results proved everything. Here's the bottom line. Stoic friends, proving them wrong is about showing up as your best self, regardless of their expectations or tactics. It's about demonstrating that their games don't define you, and their victories are fleeting compared to the strength you build within. Before we wrap up this section, let me leave you with a challenge. What's one area of your life where someone doubts you? How can you rise above and prove them wrong through your actions? Think it over and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Just type "Rise above" to declare your intention to overcome. Thank you, Stoic friends, for staying with me on this journey. Remember, Life isn't about playing games. It's about living with purpose, self-respect, and authenticity. If you found value in this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you handle challenging situations with strength and grace. Until next time, stay strong, stay wise, and keep thriving. See you in the next video.